Greetings, world! This is the Tonicman, sometimes known as Anthony Carl Urach, son of the creator of this amazing, remarkable, magnificent formula that we call JC Tonic. My dad actually started to commercialize this in 1943, so this coming year in 2023, that'll be 80 years since this is commercially available. I don't know too many products around that are around that long and that are still doing the same work that it did the first day. And actually, we celebrated a few months ago 2022 being 100 years after he first started thinking about it in 1922. It took him all that time to put it together. He first thought about oxygenation. That's what was lacking, and he was doing it for himself. Now, that story I've related many times, and all of it is available on our SoundCloud. So when you receive your email, our newsletter every week, you can click on SoundCloud and you can go in the archives. And I did about 8 or 10 conference calls relating quite a bit of the history. Not nearly the amount of history that I could relate, because this story is, I keep saying, 400-hour story. I probably could talk for that long and still find things to say that you've never heard. Anecdotal things, how my dad worked to put it together, all the challenges that he must have gone through, and he might have just said, oh, the heck with this, what am I doing here? But he didn't, and we're here today because of that. So there's a bit of a legacy for all you new folks on the call. I relate a little bit of this because it's a very interesting and compelling story, and we are now the beneficiaries of this operation. It is still saving lives. Now, we do not use the expression saving lives loosely. We actually have saved lives. People were on their last legs. We have some before pictures of people that, well, you would have sworn the next step was in the pine box. And yet we have an after picture that they're healthy and sound again, and probably for another 10 or 20 or maybe 30 years. Talking about 30 years, we have folks that have been drinking this for more than 30 years. When my dad first began making it in 1940s and 50s, I'm not sure if we have too many people still around drinking it from those days. There's me, of course, and I like to tell people now today that I'm just about a month shy of being 85, and I'm still doing this. I'm still enjoying it. My brain is razor sharp. I still remember all these anecdotes, all the stories from the beginning. I used to watch my dad in his lab. He built in our playroom in our house to make the stuff to begin with, and I was like 10 years old. So I remember all that. I remember standing there watching him do his herbal extracts, and he would pile all the different herbs that he would receive in like cloth bags from, I don't know where he got them, around the world. There were collectors of herbs, and he managed to get his hands on what he needed. Even that, what a job. I mean, how many times normal, ordinary, everyday people would have said, oh, the heck with this. But he did it, and I used to watch him do that. Oh, by the way, that's the reason why you will see a difference in taste, a difference in color quite often. Not too often, because when we order bigger quantities of botanicals, as the company has grown over the years, every time we order, we can order bigger quantities. But sometimes we get some where the botanicals are really, really bitter. And I remember maybe, 15, 20 years ago, we had some batches that even I couldn't drink. They were so tough to take, you had to mix them with something. But people in business today, they don't let that happen. They cover it with sugar or something, some kind of a flavor, something. We just leave it in its natural way. The way the botanicals come out is what we put in the product, and we do have a little bit of flavor in it. We do not use sugar, and we hope for the best. We do a lot of praying that the taste doesn't get too bad. The last couple of batches we did, the taste was off, so to speak, but we're already making samples with a new crop of botanicals that we got, and so in another month or so, maybe in 2 months, we'll be getting another batch that'll be a little easier on the taste. I mention this in passing because it's written all over our website, I think on our label and so on. We always talk about it to let people understand. All they have to do is mix it in their favorite drink or something, okay? So I'm just saying that in passing, but of course there we are again, just little parts of the story, and there are many, many parts as my father developed it and we marketed it over the years. So it's a great story which ends up today still having really tremendous benefits. Tonight we're going to have a guest who's going to give you a real humdinger story. I mean, boy, oh boy, it really is real proof that this works. Now remember, we have never made any claim, and as a matter of fact, on every call, I make sure to tell people, this does not cure anything. This is not a cure. I mean, if you have some kind of a health issue, and like you're thinking in terms of some medication goes into that part of the body or that organ or that system, and does some magical chemical reactions that all of a sudden the pain stops, or it functions better, or the enzymes drop, or the enzymes increase, or the blood pressure goes down, or it comes up, whatever that medication does. This is not like that. This does not do that. What the tonic is it's a combination that my father managed to put into some kind of a molecular chain. I'm still not sure how it works. All I know is that when it goes into a body, it actually basically starts to make the body younger. It reverses the ravages of what went on in the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You know, most people, they never have any kind of a health issue until, well, the unlucky ones start in their 40s. But unless you have some kind of an accident or you're exposed to something terrible, you know, most people do not have any kind of health challenge, and they think they're infallible and they will burn the candle at both ends, and it works, and you're fine. 30s, 40s, all of a sudden you start to have a little something and it gets a little worse, and then you go to the doctor who says, well, you seem to be starting to get whatever it is. But I got this great medication. They get you on the medication, and for the next 30 years, with a little luck, you take the medication and you don't get worse. But trouble is, and I know this from speaking to people over 50 years, people get worse. Then they have another medication to take, the one to counteract this one. And before you know it, they're in terrible shape. They don't poop, they don't sleep, they can't digest, they're stressed out. It goes on and on and on. And the moment they start drinking the JC Tonic, all of a sudden things start to change. So this is not something that goes and starts all of a sudden curing all of their health issues. It's something that gets into the body that starts changing the systems. So the systems and the glands, they start actually getting younger. We do call this a youth solution because originally that's what I thought it was. It was a youth solution. It was making the body younger, and as it did that, the body started to regenerate and repair itself. And so it would tackle one thing after the other. So that's why we have some people that say, well, I had high blood, or I had high sugar, or I had joint pains. We've got them all on these wonderful success stories. They are all available every time we send out our newsletter. You just scroll down. They're all there. You click on any one of them. Neuropathy, blood sugar, blood pressure. And you hear stories from people who had the issues, and they don't seem to have them anymore, or they're lessened a lot, or they're hardly there, or they disappear completely. Sometimes it takes 3 months, 3 years, 3 days. There's no rhyme or reason. People just tell us a story. They were taking medication, they don't take it anymore, and all of a sudden their body feels good, and that's the way this functions. So I'm not sure how it would do in any given person. All we know is somewhere between the first ounce and the 32nd ounce, and my father used to make it in actually during the war in the 40s, he made it in a 40 ounce because the only bottle he could get was used whiskey bottles, and he would sterilize them and they packaged it in that because there were no bottles available during the war. You could hardly get anything. We had rations in those days. I mean, my mother had a ration book. You could get a pound of butter, I don't know, once a month. I don't remember the exact things. So things were in short supply. If you think things are in short supply today in America, boy, oh boy, they were in short supply then, and you only got a few things a month. And so bottles were unavailable, but he did what he had to do, and he managed, and so he put in a 40 ounce. But he always said, like 30 ounces or so should do the trick. And so if you take an ounce a day for 30 days or thereabouts, you're going to get some kind of a positive benefit. I don't know what it is. I know that you're going to know. You're going to say, I'm not sure what it is either, but boy, do I feel different, or do I feel good? Or you know what? I think I'm going to continue this because something good is happening. And so that's the principle of this preparation for everybody, because it goes through the blood system and everybody has blood. That's why it works on animals. It works on anything that has blood. So if you have no blood in your body and you're on this call, you're on the wrong call. Well, the fact is that the blood goes through all parts of the body. It carries everything. It takes everything out. It brings out the toxins. It cleans out the systems. It expels stuff from your body. It delivers the hormones. It delivers, if it can make oxygen, it's a carrier of oxygen, but your body has to be in a certain state of proper health in order to have enough oxygen, in order to be able to clean the blood vessels so they don't clog up, so that it can deliver hormones and so on. And as we grow older, especially in this fine country, unfortunately, the food that we eat daily is not the greatest in many cases, unless you cook at home. And bodies get clogged up with all kinds of junk. And eventually, systems start to close down, little by little, until it becomes chronic. So the fellow that's on the call tonight, it was chronic. He has a problem called MSA, which is multiple system atrophy. And as he says when he will get on the call, it's like a cousin of Parkinson's. And, I mean, look it up online. Everybody that speaks of it, Mayo Clinic, I don't care, anybody, whoever is WebMD, they all say there is no cure. But there's some kind of medication to help out, but not very much. And when you hear this story and the change, you have to wonder, if this tonic is able to change a person's body enough to give it a turnaround with something as dire as this, holy smoke, the rest of us with whatever we have that we're complaining about is a nothing. It'll turn it around in no time. And actually, the fact of the matter is that it has done that with all these different health issues. So we're not curing any of these health issues. There's something going on in the body where the body seems to be able to get a second wind, regenerate itself, get its systems going back, getting them back into balance, and then handling the problems of the body and keeping the body in good repair. Now, there is a really, really great call that we had with Dan Mowry, and he is on our front page on our website, and he wrote a great book called Herbal Tonic Therapies. So go to the SoundCloud, go back in the archives and find it and listen to it, all you folks who have not heard it yet. He explains in great detail in an address that he did to a good big group of us a few years ago what exactly tonic herbs are, how they function, and how it relates to keeping the body in good repair. And as he says, he's going to talk about something called balance. Balance, 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 balance. It's all in the balance. So our bodies become unbalanced, and then they start getting health issues. And nobody goes to find out what the imbalance is and try and correct the imbalance. The way medicine is practiced here, they have something for that particular health issue, and they hope it works, and they do the best job they can. And in some cases, people get along okay with the medication for the rest of their lives. But most people that I've spoken to are not too happy because of all the side effects that I mentioned a little earlier. And you will understand from my comments with Bob, who's going to talk in a minute, we talked about the side effects, but we talked about the effects themselves and how they are irreversible. So don't ask me how this became irreversible in this fellow's case or in any other case of all the success stories. I don't know. I mean, I don't have the exact answer. All I know is the people tell the story. They can't be telling a lie, are they? Hardly. They would just not drink it anymore. Why would people continue to drink something for 30 years if it didn't work? Hardly. So we have folks that are in their 80s, and we had a call several months ago with about 6 or 7 people that were octogenarians. One fellow, he said, I'm 87. He said, I got remarried because he lost his wife a few years ago. He said, at 80, I got remarried. And he's excited, and he's talking about things, about what he does, like if he was not a teenager, but a younger man. And that's because his body feels that way, and his mind feels that way, and you will feel exactly the same way. Just get all your friends and family on it. Anybody who has, even if they don't have any kind of a health issue, get them on it. They will get a boost of energy. They will think differently. They will feel differently. And all of a sudden they'll say, wow, I was a little sluggish and I didn't even realize it. Give it to your children. They will jump on their homework after they're on this for a few weeks, because it affects the mental capacity so positively. Get everybody on it, folks, because it works on everybody. So go listen to all those calls on our newsletter, and when you've got them all organized, share them. You know, when someone says they have neuropathy, pull that up and have it on your phone and say, hey, Mary, listen to this, and so on. And that's the way to share it and save a life yourself. So we have a lot of those wonderful slogans, but this is a health crusade, folks. We depend on you to do the crusading work. And that's simply talking to other people. And you don't even, I mean, we don't want you to sell anything. We want you to tell. Don't sell, tell. Just tell them about it. Send them to the website. If they need help and they want questions answered, they can call us. Heck, I talk to people all day long, strangers who sometimes don't even buy a bottle. I don't care. I'll talk to them for an hour to try and get them to understand how this works, why it works, and why it should help them. So all of that, folks, is, of course, part and parcel of, we call that one, paying it forward. You have to pay it forward, just like in everything in life. You have to help. You know, it says it in the Bible. I don't know, some of you may not believe in the Bible, you believe in other things, and that's fine. But whatever the good book is of whatever the religion, there's something in there that says, help thy neighbor. It's just also common sense. You help out somebody who's in need. And you would see people who are cringing because they're taking 14 different medications, they don't feel well, they don't look well, they don't have energy, they're huffing and puffing. Just ask them, you know, what exactly are they suffering from? And if they say, oh, I slept badly, I did, whatever they say, pull up your phone and say, hey, have a listen to this, maybe it'll help. That's all. Just pay it forward. They probably will come back to you and tell you you're crazy, or they might tell you, tell me more. You know, the old 80-20 rule kicks in with everything in life. 80% don't, 20% do. 80% contribute nothing, 20% contribute everything. It's the same in all walks of life. And here, probably 80% will say you're nuts. They're still telling me I'm nuts. And yet, I've got all this proof, soon to be 80 years of it. Holy cow. How can you fight with that? So make sure you pay it forward, okay, folks? And I don't want to keep you here for the next 400 hours or 40 hours or 4 hours, because I can if you want me to, but I'll get on with our call and get Bob on the line, and you listen to what he said, and I'll come back at the end of the call for a few words. Oh, I just wanted to, yeah, of course, I have to come back at the end of the call because we have a very important message to pass along to you beside what we're going to be telling you. And that is, when I said greetings world, well, I said greetings world because the company is URAC Worldwide. And when I created it and called it Worldwide, in my little pea brain, I was thinking we're going to be around the world. It's going to be a worldwide organization one day. And this call is available in about 40 countries. Anytime you have people in different countries, we can give you the phone number. Maybe they have to get up in the middle of the night to listen, but it's broadcast in many, many countries. And we also ship to many countries. And I think we're shipping to maybe about 15 countries to individual people, different countries. And we can ship to any country where you have family and friends, or you have someone that needs this, someone you want to save a life. So we're going to be announcing that one of the countries that we've been shipping to individual orders, now we organized a master distributor. And as a matter of fact, the first couple of pallets of, 1,000 or so bottles, they're so anxious to get them that instead of sending them by boat, they're sending them with air freight, and then another few thousand bottles will be put on a boat. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that and let you know what's going on in that regard at the end of the call, okay? So tonight we have a really great guest who has something that's called MSA. It's a lengthy explanation of what it is, and I won't get into it, except to tell you that it's something like probably everyone has heard about Parkinson's, and it's something like that. And here are just some of the symptoms. And apparently there is nothing to be done about it. Parkinsonism, it's a slow, stiff movement. Writing becomes small and spidery. Dysfunction like movement and balance. Dizziness and fainting. Incontinence or urinary retention. Impotence. Constipation. Vocal cord paralysis. Dry mouth and skin, and so on. So there's a whole host of things that go wrong, and I want you to listen to Bob tonight, who is gracious enough to come on this call. He started using this. Well, I'll let you talk, Bob, and tell everybody the story. Folks, give it up, as they say, for Mr. Bob Doss.
Yes, let me hear some applause up there.
Oh, they're applauding.
Okay, no, anyway, you'll always be the medicine man to me as far as I'm concerned with fire water, okay? We'll call it fire water. But no, I started seeing symptoms of what I have a few years ago, and I had no clue as to what might be going on in my body. I thought it was a lack of potassium for a while. I was drinking Gatorade, and it would relieve my dizziness for a while, but then it just got to be where it was just got to be very bad, and could not drive for a while. I have very low energy and fatigue, bad memory loss, especially short term, or just nothing. And it's very frustrating. So I've been going through this for 3 years plus. And it even came down, whatever part that was, I've never heard really mentioned too much, was you get periods where you have this urge to speed up your walk until you're almost running, and you can't really control it. It's just there, and it wants to take off with your whole body. But thankfully, I've improved on all those. I hadn't used a cane for 2 or 3 months now because the doctor told me when I was diagnosed, he says, you need to get a plan, get your cane, because you're going to need that, and then you'll need a walker, and then you're going to need a wheelchair. Well, that wasn't very good news at all, so I used the cane for a while and got to a point I didn't need it. Haven't used it in a few months, and it's just one of those things that it just surprises you because you don't expect, even though you follow directions and you do what you're supposed to do, you still don't expect it to be that quick. Now, it's not an overnight solution, but you'll start feeling better real quickly after you start taking this, and that's what happened with me. but I was unable to stand up. You had to bend over and let this feeling, this terrible feeling that comes down over you, decide to leave your body or your mind, your brain, to move on to something else, and then you straighten up, and then I'd go for a day or two, and I'd think, oh, well, it's gone. And then it'd just slam me again real good. So I had to, just like walking in the mall. If I walked in the mall with my wife, then I'd have to make 3 or 4 stops and rest during the whole route from one end to the other. Now I don't have to do all that stuff. It's I just go, and I just go at your regular pace, and you have that urge to run, you got to go with it. But I just can't say enough nice things. I make sure I never run out of this fire water. And memory loss, even recovered some of my memory that I didn't have, say, a month ago. And I just don't know what else I can say, except I do know that I had a very heavy-duty problem with swallowing. And swallowing is something that my primary doctor prescribed a little gadget that's about the size of a pack of cigarettes, but just a little bit bigger than that, and it's called LG 7500. It's called a digital muscle stimulator. Believe me, it works. It's not an expensive item. I know when I got the prescription from my primary doctor to get this, I had a choice of a $40 one and a $400 one. And the lady told me there's not enough difference to make any difference. So I got the $40 one, and I use it. And when I first got it, I used it every day for 20 minutes. And it has made a big difference in my swallowing. I have no problem swallowing now. But I just hope to shed the light on something tonight that might help someone, because I know what you're going through if you've got the MSA, because I'd never heard of it, and therefore I was oblivious to anything that was there. But hopefully this will help somebody get answers to their problems, because it is a real problem. It won't go away by itself. But I've had different people, including my son that works with me. I have a carpet cleaning business here in West Palm, and he said, "What happened to you?" one day. And I said, "What do you mean what happened to me?" He said, "The way you're moving and jumping around and doing things, you haven't been able to do that in a long, long, long time." And I said, "Well, I'm not going to ask too many questions. I just know that I have the energy that I haven't had for over 3 years. I'm doing things around the house, visiting, calling people, that I just keep putting off because you don't have the energy to waste on all that. You got to save it for your ability to breathe and walk." So hopefully somebody will hear this and decide to try it, but don't expect an overnight success on it. It won't happen, but it will happen.
Well, Bob, you said don't expect an overnight success. Tell the folks how long you've been drinking it and a little bit about when you started. I remember you telling me difficulties in getting out of your car and so on. Yeah. How things changed? I think 6 or 8 months or something since you've been drinking. And how much of it a day did you drink, and do you drink?
Well, I started out with like 4 to 6 ounces, and then it got to the point where I was able to drop back, because I stayed so well day in and day out. I was doing good, and I dropped it down some, and then occasionally you're not feeling on top of your game. You go back to the well for another ounce or so, and it just, once it's in your system, it's there. And what I take today doesn't have to wait 3 hours to take over. It will start working almost immediately. And don't be afraid to drink too much. As long as you keep within that time frame, you'll be fine. But no, I've had other people. A lady just the other day, she says, "What's the name of that tonic you're taking?" I said, "Yeah, here, I gave it to her." And she said, "I can't believe the difference in the way you're moving, the way you're working, smiling. It's just a whole different ballgame." And I says, "Yes, I know it." It was good to hear that they had noticed, but they were just only a few. Some good friends of mine that I've known since I moved here from West Virginia, and they were West Virginians too, and I got him on it, and I think he's going to stay with it for a while. But I just urge anybody that's got it, doesn't matter what your problem is, because MSA is not curable, but boy, you sure can treat it.
How long did it take for you to get out of your truck when you had to?
Oh, for a softball told me, it sometimes would take 10 minutes, because once I got out, then this feeling of coming over you, mobilizing you, would come on immediately or within 2 or 3 minutes. So I'd have to feel around the truck, like I was straightening up things just so that feeling would pass over, and then I'd be all right for a while.
And how is it now?
Oh, I get right on now, and I still take a minute. I don't want to get carried away, you know.
No, but you take a minute as opposed to an hour.
Oh, yeah.
So, the improvements that you've seen in all of these things that I highlighted here, every part. What about the swallowing? You're okay now with the swallowing?
I'm okay as long as I use this little gadget. And I urge anybody that's having swallowing problems to get it, because it's not a big deal. It takes 20 minutes, and it's on an adhesive. It sticks under your chin, going down to your neck, and you turn it on and you set it to where it feels comfortable, because it is kind of a prickly sensation. So if you go too far, you'll know it. You'll be the first to know that you have to back it up a little. But all those instructions are there.
I guess the doctor probably suggests that to anybody that has this problem. But
yes,
those are things that people listening on the call tonight, you have to all realize. If someone else has MSA, it's not in the same rhythm as Bob's. I mean, someone else, his twin brother could have it, and it could still be different in how much you take and how long it takes to repair this and repair that. It's a question of time, and the body needs the time to build itself up and turn itself around. And I think the way the body handles things, it looks after whatever it needs to look after in order to gather its forces to go after the big nut, to get rid of, say, the problem with swallowing. And all those things take a certain amount of time. So you've been on it for a few months, and you're out of something that you were told you'd be in a wheelchair by now.
Oh, yeah.
So if you look at it from that perspective, this has been really, really fast for you. Will it be for someone else? Maybe not, or maybe more. It depends on who you are, how it is, how much you take, how often per day. But I think the main point that we're trying to make here is that whatever it is, in Bob's case it's MSA, in someone else's case it's diabetes, in someone else's case it's whatever it is, we make no claims about curing any of these things, but the body is quite able to heal itself if you give it a break. And that's what the tonic is doing for Bob and everyone else. Bob, this is tremendous. I mean, I think that the results that you've had over these, and the other thing, you were trembling and shaking at some point. So what's up with that now?
Well, that is no longer in effect. That disappeared.
Disappeared. That was like Parkinson's. That's what they refer to here. It's like Parkinson's when you tremble.
Because that's what the diagnosis was MSA, but it's like a second cousin to Parkinson's, if you want to get in layman term. But it's just not the same, but it has the characteristics of being Parkinson's. And I'd have periods where my hands would lock up like I hardly in writing. But just one quick example, I had to write out 4 different checks to pay my son one Friday because I could not keep the pencil on the paper well enough to write out a check and sign it. But I finally got that conquered.
That's under control now? Okay, so...
I'll write you a check. But
I was just going to say, why don't you write me a big check here?
I think it's coming back on me now.
Oh, that is great. No kidding. So you see things like that. That alone, I mean, imagine what you went through when you tried to write a check or write anything, the frustration that must develop in your body and your soul, you know.
The difference, I don't know if anybody's got anything to lose. Just do it and stay with it. In hindsight, I'd probably started out about 6 ounces for the first 2 days just to get that going, because it recognizes it when it gets in there. It's almost scary. And I told you that back then. As good as I feel right now, it's almost scary because I'm afraid it'll go away.
How do you like that, folks? Now, I want to clarify just a couple of things. Bob said, he started with 6 ounces, 4 to 6 ounces a day. But I remember very clearly telling him to start with an ounce or maybe half an ounce to make sure that his body can handle it. So he was talking about, because I told him, as soon as you're able to take an ounce or 2 a day, then get up to 4 to 6 ounces. And that's what he was referring to. He did start with a little bit, which I recommend everybody just start, because of, there's the healing crisis that may kick in or whatever. You don't want to be uncomfortable. So the thing to do with these very, very deep-seated kind of health issues is get up to the 4 or 6 ounces, because it seems the more a body gets into it, the faster it is able to start doing something. So if you have friends and family who have very serious problems, then start with a little bit to get their body used to it and boost it up as quickly as you can. We are going to have a call in the next, well, I hope sometime before Christmas, that this 25-year-old gal has had bipolar problems for like 15 years. Imagine growing up like that and with all the medication and all that. And her story is another humdinger. Holy smokes. Just amazing. So we suggested to her to do the same thing, get the body used to it and then boost it. But some people, we tell them to do that and they don't even have to do that. The 1 or 2 ounces a day is plenty. We've had some people who I thought were taking 4 ounces a day and they told me they were taking an ounce a day or a half an ounce a day. Fantastic. So if that's all you need, great. But as Bob suggested, don't be afraid to take more. So that's the message. Don't be afraid to take more. The more, the better in many, probably in most cases. And I'm still drinking sometimes up to 4 ounces a day. It all depends what I do in a day. When I do these conference calls, I think probably an hour before the call, I must have had, well, at least 2 ounces. I mix mine in water, and I keep it in a 16-ounce water bottle. So I put in like 4 ounces in the morning, and I fill it up with spring water, and I take a sip or a guzzle, or as in this case before the call, a big shot, which probably ended up giving me 2 ounces. All depends what I'm doing. If I'm not doing anything this late at night or this where I have to focus so much, or I might take less. You'll find that it's the same thing for yourself. And for those of you who know people who go to a gym, it doesn't matter who you are. You all want to do better, so you want to press 1 extra pound, or you want to do 1 extra of this, or you want to run the mile in 1/4 of a second less, or whatever you do. And everybody times themselves and measures things, and they always try and change something in the diet or their sleep pattern or something to do a little bit more. When you've got to the spot where there's no way you can do any more and you start drinking this, within like days you're at the gym and all of a sudden you do that extra half pound or that extra pound or whatever. What a great thing for athletes. It gives them extra strength. It gives them extra focus. I mentioned earlier for your children, get your children on it if they're going to school, any grade in school, and they will just get smarter and faster at their homework and want to learn more because it'll open up the brain. So the oxygenation probably has a lot to do with that. It has an awful lot to do with all the endocrine glands. We've had people talk about thyroid problems that they no longer have. It comes to balance. Again, everything is in balance. You have to go and listen to Dan Mowry's talk to us about balance and how it works. It's just really magnificent. And so there we are. That call is another one of many hundreds that we have. They're all online. They're all on the SoundCloud, the whole call, me included. But if you don't want to hear me jabber, you can go to the links that are there. The snippets, we call them. We've cut down everything just to the real meat of the testimonial itself. So it gives you an idea. So, you won't be able to have people listen to you for as long as maybe you'll be polite enough to listen to me. But it's hard to get people to listen these days. If you get their attention for a couple of minutes, you're lucky. So these snippets are perfect on your phone. Just put it on, put it to their ear. It'll pique their interest and curiosity sufficiently that they'll start asking you some questions, okay? And so there we are. As I said, I can go on and tell you more anecdotes, but that basically is the call for tonight. I was going to get into the whole call about what we're doing worldwide, but folks, I'm going to send this call out in the middle of the week as usual. And we are going to send a short video that I did personally for this country, just as a little intro for them to show their customers. And they wanted to see the founder of the company. And so I'm not big on doing videos, but I did that little video, and I'm going to send it out with this call next week so you can all have a look, and I will cover exactly that. And we have some photos of loading the pallets at the shipping dock, ready to go on a truck to go to a plane. And we'll put those photos there, and we're all kind of very proud and happy that we were able to pull this off. It's a difficult task to get another country going, but we managed, and now we're going after the rest of them. So there we are. That's the call. I appreciate all of you. I thank you all for being here. And as soon as you're off this call, you know there's a phone number that you can give to other people that they can go and listen to the call. Please do that. You'll be getting the email, so you'll be able to email it to everybody next week. And in the meantime, as we like to say around here all the time, when you take an ounce, you feel the bounce. So good night, everybody, for now, and we will talk to you real soon.
Urac Classic Whole Body Tonic is a dietary supplement, not a drug. Therefore, it is useful to affect the structure and/or function of your body in various ways, but it is not intended to and will not cure, mitigate, treat, or prevent any disease. Individual testimonials may not be everyone's experience and do not constitute scientific evidence. Urac Corporation does not make any drug or treatment claims for its product.